Welcome or welcome back to the 8th Concession, our property here in Southern Ontario, Zone 5B. My name is Natalie. Well, it's officially spring, although Mother Nature isn't quite on board with that. Around here on the 8th Concession, we still have below freezing temperatures overnight, but throughout the day, we're above zero. Today, in fact, it's actually a really nice day. It's about 10 or 11 Celsius. I think that's about 51, 52 Fahrenheit. So can't really get out and plant, our warm weather crops. It's even a bit too early for some of our cool weather crops because we are getting those freezing temperatures overnight. However, there are two plants that I plan on planting in the garden today. No, I'm not crazy. It is a little bit of an experiment. Now, I've mentioned before using glass bowls as cloches. It's an old French technique to extending the garden season. So in France, you can find pictures of them having these glass cloches over top of tender vegetables in the shoulder season, so spring and fall. So they had more vegetables to take to market. Now, to buy an actual glass cloche is horrendously expensive, and that's if you can find any of them. They're not really making them anymore for the garden. But I have turned to thrifting as a way to find my own cloches, and I have found punch bowls, fruit bowls, large vases, anything that has that sort of bell-like shape, which is how it gets its name cloche, which means bell in French. So today I'm actually going to start two types of vegetables that can probably do well with the cloches. Now, I've used the cloches in the fall to extend the season that way, and it's been really successful. I haven't yet tried them too much in the spring for an earlier start, but that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to plant some spinach, and I'm going to plant some butter crunch lettuce. Both things that are expensive in the stores right now and would be great coming out of the garden. Excuse my chickens. They see me standing here in the garden and they think I have a treat for them. I've already given them their treat. They're just whining and complaining over there. So let's have a look in the garden and see what's going on. You can see right here I've had some parsley that survived under 3 feet of snow. And over here in this garden bed, I have some flowers that keep coming back. I'm not sure, they must be perennial. I didn't think they were perennial around here, but they are called pinks. I think the proper name is dianthus. And they've survived really well too. I'm going to trim back all this dead stuff here. But you can see that it's already growing. But the most exciting thing here in bed number 1 is right down the side. Can you see them? My garlic is up. It's amazing to me that ground was frozen solid. If you saw one of my earlier videos, I was actually sort of knocking on the ground. It was so frozen. But look at these beauties. They're already up a couple of inches all the way down. That's pretty exciting. In that same video, I was down here in this last bed where I had planted some trees and my asparagus in pots in the garden over winter to help protect the roots from freezing. And you can see that the spruce back there are looking great. The cedars are still pretty brown, but they're not dead, they're just dormant. And here is my asparagus. Again, I'll trim this dead stuff back. I don't see anything growing yet, but it won't be long, I'm sure. This year, I hope to get them permanently in the garden. Over here is some garlic that obviously I forgot to pick, or I picked it. Maybe the voles pulled it out of the ground. Some garlic. Self-seeding, some volunteers. I'll let them grow. I can't bring myself to kill anything that has worked so hard to grow. So bed number 2 is where I'm going to start. This had beets in it last year here at the top. I like to plant my lettuce on the north side of my trellises so that when it starts to warm up and I have plants climbing up here, it brings more shade to this side and keeps them from bolting too soon so that they don't get as hot. So last year I had the lettuce in bed number 4 on the other side of the trellis over there. So this year I'm back to bed number 2 and I'm going to plant my lettuce here. First thing I'm going to do is just fluff up the soil a bit. And see where I'm going to place my cloches. Next, I'm going to give the ground a good watering right there. These are butter crunch seeds that I saved myself from my lettuce plants. And I'm going to sprinkle them quite thickly, I think. Then I'm just going to take some dirt and cover them very lightly. Pop on my greenhouses, my cloches, and that's all there is to it. I'm going to do the same thing over here in bed number 4 for the spinach. I'm going to actually use 3 cloches. I have a hankering for some Italian wedding soup. Oh, the weeds don't have any trouble growing. I think I'll do 1, 2, 3. Give them a lot of water. Give the soil some water, but look what happened. I just pulled this out of the red room and there's a hole here. At first I thought it had broken because this is just plastic. But you know what? That was eaten. Those are teeth marks. The mice got in there and were just chewing away at it. I am so angry. I don't think you can buy a replacement. I think these are called rosettes. Look at that. Those rotten things. There you go. It's as easy as that. Now we're just going to let the sun and the glass do its thing, heat it up, and hopefully those seeds will all germinate. I have to show you something amazing though. This is the lettuce that I planted just before the spinach, not 5 minutes ago. Really, it's not like I've been filming for hours. And you can already see the condensation starting inside that little greenhouse. See it on the rim there? And this one, you can see it heating up inside. That's how fast the glass works. And that's pretty much why I prefer glass over plastic. I tried the plastic cloches a while ago. I found them because they're really inexpensive. It's hard not to be tempted. But the plastic is just so flimsy. I had two big problems. One was they didn't heat up as fast as the glass because they're just not as good at insulating as the glass is. And secondly, they don't last as long because they're plastic. And at some point in time, plastic, especially cheap plastic, cracks. And then you have to throw it away and it ends up in the landfill where it stays forever. Which is why we try to avoid plastic as much as possible here on the 8th Concession. We can't do it completely, but we avoid it where we can. And the third thing that I've noticed is when I use the plastic ones, any gust of wind would blow them away. Now you can anchor them down, which I tried. I even put a rock on top of them, but of course that defeats the purpose of letting the sun shine into them. So they just weren't as sturdy. They were easily blown by the wind, and after a year or so they cracked and they went into the garbage. So I do prefer the glass. You have to handle them more carefully because they can crack. One of mine has cracked because I left it in too long in the fall a couple of years ago. And when I tried to pry it out of the ground, it had kind of frozen into the ground and it cracked. So that was my fault, waiting too long. But other than that, they will last for years as long as you don't, drop them and crack them. But that's why I prefer the glass. Again, to try and buy them is prohibitively expensive in my opinion. But these were thrifted. And as I mentioned, one of them you could see was a punch bowl. If you do go the punch bowl route, try to find one with not too much cut work on it, because every time there is cut work, you have the chance of it creating a prism when the sunlight hits it, and that can focus the sunlight and actually burn your plants. So the least amount of cut work on your glass is best. The other ones are plain glass. Oh, and I can see that the ones over by the spinach are also already getting frosty inside. They're heating up that quickly. It's quite amazing to me. Here's hoping that they'll protect them overnight once they germinate, but for the next few days the seeds are just, in the ground anyway. So they're heating it up. They're creating that nice environment for them to grow, and I'm hoping for a real jump start on some lettuce and some spinach. That is incredible how fast that happens. You can see that the air inside is condensing, and soon it will get some water droplets and create its own micro environment. Now, another thing to note is that it can get super hot under these cloches. You want to kind of regulate the temperature a bit. Now, the original French cloches, they actually had wooden pegs with notches in them that you stuck into the soil beside them. I should make it a project this year to make my own, because I did see an image of them online. It wouldn't be difficult to make, but that was so that they could tilt the glass up and allow some airflow in so it wouldn't get too hot. After all, you don't want to cook the plants inside. So you can regulate it a little bit, and if you don't have a notch, a rock will work just as well. You see it getting too hot, just lift up one side, and there you go. Now, that was one thing someone mentioned to me about the plastic cloches, is they have a little vent on the top, and that's true. That is a great idea. But I did see someone else had the most fantastic idea. Instead of using, punch bowls or fruit bowls for his glass cloches, he actually used glass lampshades, the kinds you can sort of get on chandeliers or on single lights, and they have a hole in the top where the light bulb goes in. So I thought, wow, maybe I should start looking for them. Now the only thing I didn't like about the ones he had is they were mostly frosted. Now that would still work, but I want the maximum amount of sunlight to get in through the glass to the plant. Now obviously he had great success with the frosted ones, but I would like to look for some clear glass lamp shades with the hole in the top. I think that's an even better idea. So feel free to take that idea and run with it, because that was really cool. Here's to an early start in the garden. Bye for now.